They are already hearing what you whisper inside, not through your spoken words, not through the messages you type, and not through the version of you that you show to the world, but through the quiet, constant inner conversation that runs in your mind every single day without you even noticing it. If you truly understand this, something shifts immediately. You stop trying so hard to make someone love you, and you begin to realize that you are already in communication with them on a deeper level. This communication is subtle, but it is continuous, and it is far more powerful than anything you say out loud. Most people approach manifestation in love from the surface. They focus on what to say, when to text, how to act, and which technique to use so that the other person reacts in a certain way. But all of that is secondary. Beneath all of it, there is something much more influential happening, and that is the energy of your thoughts combined with the meaning you give to the relationship. Every thought you repeat carries a feeling, and that feeling becomes a signal. This signal does not stay locked inside your mind. It moves outward through your behavior, your presence, your tone, and even through moments of silence. The other person may not consciously understand why they feel a certain way around you, but they still respond to it. This is what thought transmission really is. It is not about forcing someone to think about you. It is about the natural reflection of your inner state in the way others experience you. Think about times in your life when you could sense someone's mood without them saying anything. You could tell when someone was upset, insecure, confident, or happy just by being around them. They did not need to explain it. You felt it. The same principle applies here, but on a more subtle and continuous level in romantic connections. When it comes to manifesting love, this becomes even more important because emotional sensitivity is higher. You are more aware of the other person, and they are more affected by the version of you that you are being internally. Now, here's where most people unknowingly go wrong. They focus on what they want instead of what they believe. There is a huge difference between the two. If your thoughts sound like, I want them to choose me, I hope they don't lose interest, or why are they acting distant, then even though your desire is love, your dominant signal is insecurity. You are not transmitting love. You are transmitting doubt and fear. And this does not need to be spoken out loud to have an effect. The other person begins to feel a certain tension, a certain uncertainty, or a certain pressure in the connection. They may not be able to explain it logically, but they respond to it emotionally. This is when you start seeing behavior that matches your inner state, such as inconsistency, distance, or confusion. Now imagine shifting your inner world completely. Instead of questioning everything, you start assuming stability. Instead of hoping they care, you begin to feel that they already do. Instead of analyzing every small action, you feel secure in the connection without needing constant proof. This is not about pretending or forcing positivity. It is about deciding what is true for you and returning to that decision again and again until it feels natural. As you begin to stay in this new state more consistently, your thoughts change automatically. You are no longer arguing with them in your head or replaying negative scenarios. Your mind becomes calmer and your reactions become more grounded. You stop overthinking small things because they no longer threaten your sense of security. At the same time, your emotional energy becomes more stable. You are not constantly shifting between hope and fear. You feel more centered, and that stability becomes the signal you are sending out. The other person begins to pick up on this shift. They may not consciously realize why they feel more drawn to you or why they suddenly think about you more often, but something changes in how they experience you. This is because you are no longer transmitting uncertainty. You are transmitting clarity and confidence in the connection. It is important to understand that thought transmission does not work based on intensity alone. It works based on consistency. A single positive thought cannot override a day full of doubt. Your subconscious mind responds to patterns, not occasional efforts. If most of your day is spent worrying, overanalyzing, and checking for signs, then that becomes your dominant state. Even if you try to correct it for a few minutes, the deeper pattern remains the same. This is why people feel like they are doing everything right, but still not seeing results. The real shift happens when your dominant inner conversation changes. When your natural thoughts throughout the day begin to reflect the reality you want, rather than the fear you are trying to avoid, your signal becomes stronger and clearer. One way to understand this is to think of it like tuning a frequency. If your mind is constantly tuned to doubt, that is what gets amplified. When you gradually shift your focus to certainty and stay there more often, the entire experience begins to change. Another important part of this is imagination. What you repeatedly imagine with emotion becomes familiar to your mind. When something feels familiar, it starts to feel real. And when it feels real, you begin to embody it without effort. So if you are constantly imagining situations where they ignore you, leave you, or lose interest, your body reacts as if that is already happening. That emotional state then becomes your signal. On the other hand, if you begin to imagine moments of closeness, understanding, and mutual affection, and you allow yourself to feel those moments as real, your state begins to shift in a natural way. This is not about escaping reality. It is about shaping the lens through which you experience it. However, there's something very important to keep in mind. Thought transmission becomes weaker when it comes from neediness. When you feel like you need the other person to complete you, your thoughts carry a sense of lack. This creates pressure, and pressure creates resistance. True influence comes from a place of wholeness. When you feel emotionally complete on your own, your thoughts are no longer desperate attempts to get something. They become natural expressions of what you already believe to be true. From this place, you are not trying to send messages to the other person. You are simply being the version of yourself who is already in a secure and loving relationship. Your thoughts, feelings, and reactions all align with that version. And this is where the real power lies. You are not changing them directly. You are aligning yourself with a version of them that matches your inner state. This is why different people experience the same person in completely different ways. One person may see them as distant and unreliable, while another experiences them as caring and consistent. The difference is not always in the other person. It is often in the assumptions each individual holds and the signals they are continuously sending. So instead of asking what the other person is thinking or feeling, it becomes more useful to ask yourself what you are consistently thinking and feeling about the connection. Your answer to that question reveals the exact signal you are transmitting. If you are constantly looking for reassurance, you are transmitting uncertainty. If you are internally stable and trusting, you are transmitting security. And whatever you are transmitting is what gets reflected back to you over time. The timing of this reflection depends on how quickly your inner state becomes consistent. It is not about forcing results or doing more techniques. It is about how naturally you begin to live from the assumption that what you want is already yours. At first, it may feel unfamiliar, and your mind may try to go back to old patterns. That is normal. But every time you gently return to the new state, you strengthen it. Over time, it becomes your default way of thinking. And when that happens, the outer world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match your inner reality. So instead of focusing on changing their behavior, start paying attention to your inner conversation. Notice what you are repeatedly telling yourself about the relationship, about them, and about your place in their life. Because whether you realize it or not, they are already responding to it. Not to your words, not to your actions alone, but to the deeper signal that comes from your consistent thoughts and feelings. And once you truly understand this, you stop trying to control the outcome. You begin to trust the process. You realize that every shift within you is already influencing what is happening outside. You are not waiting for something to happen anymore. You are participating in it through your inner world. And the moment this becomes clear, manifestation in love stops feeling complicated. It becomes natural. It becomes steady. It becomes something that is already in motion because they are already hearing what you whisper inside, and they're already responding to it in ways you are just beginning to notice. I hope this helped you. I will meet you with another golden nugget. Happy manifesting.